Hey everybody, it's Michael from Wahoo Comics here with another comic haul and speculation video. And as usual, I've got a bunch of books I'm looking forward to showing you today. Starting off with this one, Journey into Mystery number 114. As you can see, this is a CBCS 3.0, so fairly low grade, but I'm really excited to add this to my personal collection because it contains the first appearance of Crusher Creel, better known as the Absorbing Man. And the Absorbing Man is one of my favorite villains of all time. As I've talked about before, the first comics I read as a kid were from the Secret Wars miniseries, and so all of the heroes and villains from that series are near and dear to my heart. And one of my very favorites, even among those characters, was the Absorbing Man. I remember there was this scene in that series where the Absorbing Man had his ball and chain, and he absorbed the powers of a rock, so he became this rock man. And the heroes and villains were getting ready to clash, and he goes after Wolverine, and he's getting ready to slam Wolverine, and Wolverine just takes his claws and just cuts his arm right off. And of course he's stunned and freaked out. He's like, oh, I thought I was going to destroy this Wolverine, and now my arm's gone. And he just kind of is in a daze after that. And so he picks up his stone arm that stays stone, and he takes it back home, and he's just like wondering, what the heck am I going to do? And so he wonders, well, what if I just kind of hold it against the rest of my stone body, because he was afraid to turn back into his flesh, that he would just bleed out. But what if I hold it to my body and then turn back? And so he does that, he holds it, and when he turns back into flesh, the arm sticks back on, and he's like, yes, exciting. And so it's just a really memorable scene to me. But as I continued to read comics, every time I would see him in a story, I'd get excited. And I really loved, because of his unique ability to absorb the powers of any object, anything, the writers can be really creative with what they do for him. So I remember one time early on when I was a kid, I read a storyline where he fought the Hulk, and they battled like into a power plant, and so he grabs a power line, and all of a sudden he absorbs the electricity, and he becomes like this human electric, powered person that then fights the Hulk, and that was really fun to see. And then there's some bizarre things he's absorbed too. He became absorbed cocaine in one storyline, and then somebody snorted him, and like he was in trouble then. And just really interesting, sometimes bizarre, sometimes fun, sometimes awesome things that they can do with this character. And so I'm really happy to have this book. It's also interesting. I'm just glad to have it for my personal collection, but I do think this is a book that has room to grow in value. Because in the comics, the Absorbing Man marries Titania. And of course, as we've talked about, Titania is going to be in the upcoming She-Hulk Disney Plus series. So I think there's a great chance that he ends up showing up there. If not in the first season, at some point, I think he has to be introduced. And technically, he's already been introduced into the MCU. He was in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show. But the MCU's been really interesting in how they've treated the Netflix shows and the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show. Some things they seem to be keeping in their continuity. Some things they're getting rid of. So I don't know if they're going to totally reboot this character when they introduce him, or if they will use the actor from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We'll see. But I do think he has a future in the MCU. At least I hope so. Maybe I'm just biased because I love him so much. So really happy to have this one. And then speaking of first appearances of Secret War villains, I also was able to pick up Fantastic Four number 20. Again, a 3.0. This is by CGC, so low grade, but it contains the first appearance of the Molecule Man. And I find him to be a really interesting character. I don't love him in the same way that I love the Absorbing Man, but I think he's fascinating because he has so much power. He's one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel Universe, especially among humans. He can literally rewrite reality, and so he can do these godlike tasks and feats, and has all this power. But on the inside, he's super weak and insecure, and so he's easily manipulated. So especially if you read the Secret Wars storyline, you'll find Dr. Doom, who I think is the best villain, my very favorite, as I've talked about, is able just to get him to do what he wants. Even though the Molecule Man is so much stronger than he is, just because he's so weak on the inside. So a really fascinating character and just a cool Silver Age book. All these Silver Age books are pretty safe investments, I think, and especially when they contain characters that haven't been introduced in the MCU yet, but maybe one day. He's a pretty big character in MCU lore or Marvel Comics, just the regular comics history. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him pop up. But even if he doesn't, it's just a classic Silver Age book that's good to get. Well, Journey into Mystery, of course, later was retitled into Thor. And so I wanted to show off also some recent Thor keys that I got that I'm really excited about. First of all, Thor number 225. And this contains the first appearance of Firelord, who is the second Herald of Galactus. I love all the cosmic stuff in comics. I'm excited the MCU is exploring that side of the Marvel Universe more. And I am super excited to have the first appearance of Firelord, who is tough to say. Do I like him more than Silver Surfer? It's close. I really have always liked Firelord. I think he just looks super cool. Of course, Silver Surfer does as well. But really excited to have his first appearance. Also, Thor number 239. This contains the first appearance of the Holopians, which is a team of Egyptian gods, such as Osiris, Isis, and Horus. And I think it's a really cool book to have because I'm a huge fan of all kinds of mythology. I grew up loving mythology. And so I'm excited to get the first appearances of any kind of gods in mythology. But also, I think they're good investments and pickups because the MCU is starting to explore the god realm of the Marvel Universe now. Russell Crowe is going to be Zeus in the next Thor movie. There's a lot of speculation that then opens up the door to a lot of the Greek mythology, like Hercules, who's a major Marvel character coming into the MCU. But also, of course, next year, Moon Knight is going to be a Disney Plus series. And so that's going to introduce at least some elements of Egyptian mythology into it, since Moon Knight, of course, is the fist or the servant of Khonshu, the Egyptian moon god. And so there's a lot of speculation that maybe some of the other Egyptian gods will get introduced, especially there's rumors that Osiris will be. And so I think this book is a really cool one to have. It's pretty affordable right now. And it's just safe, will always have value just because it's an old Thor book, but has room to grow a lot if those Egyptian gods eventually get introduced into the MCU. A couple of the Thors that I picked up that are really cool. Thor 337, of course, the introduction, first appearance of Beta Ray Bill, who's just a super cool character. There's a lot of belief that he'll soon be in the MCU, and so this book is a really hot one, already selling for a lot more than it was a year ago, and so I'm really happy to pick up a copy of it. And then also Thor 338, which is his second appearance, which is another good one, and definitely a much more affordable one to pick up. So if you're a Beta Ray Bill fan and you're priced out of 337, 338 is a really great one to pick up. The cover is really cool, an homage to Thor 126, where Thor fights Hercules. All right, a few other pickups I'll show off kind of quickly. Even though I collect mostly Marvel, there are a few other things I've been getting. Spawn keys are starting to pick up some steam and get hot. And so this is Spawn number 2, which is the first appearance of the Violator. And then Spawn number 6, which is the first appearance of Overkill. Going to the DC side of things, we have Green Lantern number 48. Talked about before, Green Lantern keys are really good pickups right now with its series coming out on HBO Max in the near future. And this contains the first full appearance of Kyle Rayner and includes when he becomes a Green Lantern. But then also one that you might be able to find in dollar bins, I get this for just $1, is Green Lantern Corps Quarterly, which contains the first cameo of Kyle Rayner. And so I think this is one, I actually didn't even know about this until this year, that it contained that. And so I'm really excited to add a piece of that to my collection. I also, going back to Marvel, picked up Web of Spider-Man number 20. As I've talked about before, I'm trying to get all these 25th anniversary covers, and I think that's going to become a more popular thing to chase over the years. As people who are kids when these, like me, when these were coming out, are going to seek after them. There's cool covers. And finally, I'll show off my sleeper of the week. It's this one, Ironheart number 11. Another one I was able to get for just $1. And this contains the first appearance of Dune, who is Riri Williams' father. And I think this is a good book to spec on, especially if you can get it for like $1 for a couple of reasons. First of all, of course, we know there's going to be an Ironheart series coming out on Disney Plus a year or two from now. I'm not sure exactly when it's coming out. But of course, it's a good chance her father would be in for that reason. But also, he's a member of the Ten Rings organization. And as we probably all know, Shang-Chi movie coming up is called Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So the Ten Rings idea might be something that gets explored a lot more, and the organization centered around it in the upcoming MCU. And so her father could play a part in that, certainly. And so I think this is a great one to pick up, especially if you can find it for like $1. All right, well, that brings me to the end of the books I'm going to show off. I'll leave you with a question of the week. So, of course, I talked about my interest in mythology and being excited that all these pantheon of gods are being introduced into the MCU. But I'm curious, what is your very favorite pantheon of gods? Is it the Norse gods like Thor, the Greek gods like Zeus, the Egyptian gods like Osiris, or a whole different type of pantheon? My personal favorite are the Greek gods. I've always loved them, and so I'm super excited. Zeus is coming into the Marvel Universe, and really hoping that that means Hercules is coming in as well, as early as Thor. I mean, I think definitely he's coming at some point. I hope we'll get to see him in Thor. And if you don't know, the main villain of Thor, the upcoming Thor, is Gore, the God Butcher, who's an awesome villain, but of course he's the God Butcher, so he goes out seeking different gods from pantheons to kill. So there's a good chance we get introduced to lots of pantheons of gods in that movie. And so I'm super excited about that. But what is your favorite pantheon? All right, well, of course, if you have not subscribed to this channel, I would appreciate if you did that. It would be a big help to me and the channel. Like the video, comment, answering the question, or also just saying what are some cool books that you've picked up or that you think that I need to be on the lookout for. So enjoyed doing the video and look forward to seeing you guys next time.